Hi and welcome back to the channel. For today's tutorial, I'll be sharing with you how I made this Basque Corset gown with ruffle. So if it's your first time viewing my channel, please hit on the subscribe button. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave your comment at the comment section, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for always supporting my channel. So let's start. So here is my pattern for the front. I taped it together and I placed it. So I cut out my pattern on fold. So I went ahead to add ½ inch round and ½ inch below it. So you can go ahead to cut yours and then join it back, but looking at the dress pattern, it has no joining, so that's why I cut it this way. And here is my cup. I went ahead to cut out the main fabric of this cup, cut out the lining, the gum stay, and I'm using wadding for this. If you're making use of your already made cup, that's okay, and you can also make use of a bra foam. So to place my cup, I'm just going to separate it carefully so that I won't get confused. So first, I'm going to open the pattern for the main fabric and I'm going to go ahead to open it. So this is the cup for the center. I'm going to open it and place it this way, and then I'll go ahead to open the lining part for it, and I'll place the gum stay underneath the pattern this way. So after placing that, I'm going to go ahead to place my wadding underneath the main fabric also. So after placing it, I'm just going to go ahead to iron it on it, and I'm going to top stitch on it. After arranging for this part, we are going to move over to the side cup. So I'm just going to open it up this way. After doing that, I'm just going to open the lining also, and I'm going to place the gum stay underneath it. After placing the gum stay underneath it, I'm going to place the wadding underneath the fabric, and I'm going to iron the wadding on the fabric. So if you're wondering why I always use wadding, my bust is on the small size. My bust is 33 and I don't like much padding on my bust. So you can go ahead to use your ready-made cup, or you can use your bra foam or use wadding. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to join my cup with ½ inch. So I'm going to place it this way and I'll stitch with ½ inch, and I'll also do that, but before I do that, I'll iron the gum stay to the lining, and I'll also repeat that for my cup side. I'm going to iron my wadding to my lining and I'm going to stitch. So after stitching it, I'm just going to bring it to show you what I have. So I've gone ahead to stitch my cup, and this is what I have, and this is the fabric and the lining part. To attach my cup to the body of the corset, I'm going to fold it in this way, and I'm going to go ahead to notch the center. Just like I said, I'm going to place it this way and I'm going to notch the center. So I'm going to be repeating this process for the two parts of the cup side. So after doing that, I'll be attaching the cup from that notched part. So I'm going to take my cup and I'm going to place the center at that notched part, and I'm going to pin. So to make it easy to join, you're just going to pin round, but if you can join your cup without pinning, you can go ahead to do that. So while pinning your cup, if you notice that your cup is bigger than the body of the cup part, you can go ahead to notch it this way. So after notching it, you're just going to place it and you're going to pin it down. So I'm done fixing this side, I'm done pinning this side. I'll go ahead to pin the other side. So after doing that, I'll just go over to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew with ½ inch. So after pinning down, this is what I have. Next thing is just to go over to the sewing machine and to sew with ½ inch, and I'll repeat this process for the other part of the cup and also for the lining part of this corset. So I'm done sewing this part and this is what I have. So I'll go ahead to also sew this other part of the cup, and I'll go ahead to pin it just the way I pinned the other one. So I'm done sewing the back side, and this is what I have for the cup part of this corset, and I've joined the back also, and I went ahead to iron it after joining. Next is to work on the lower part of the dress, and to do that I'm just going to unpin my pattern. So I'm just going to spread open what I have. This is the front part, and after opening it I'm just going to open the lining part on it. So I'll go ahead to iron the lining before sewing, and I'll go ahead to stitch it with 1/2 inch round and turn it to the right side, and repeat the same process for the back. So this is the back and this is the front. I've gone ahead to turn it round. Next, I'm going to join the upper part of the back and the lower part of the back together. I'm going to be joining it with 1/2 inch. After joining it with 1/2 inch, I'm going to stitch the lower part, and I'll go ahead to attach zipper at the back. Moving over to the front, this is the material that I cut for the sleeve of the dress. So for the strip that is serving as the main hand, I measured my shoulder to chest line 7 inches, and I added 2 inches to it, making it 16. So for the parts of this sleeve that is going to fall on the sleeve, I cut out 20 inches by 7 and I folded it round. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold it in with 1/2 inch. After folding it with 1/2 inch, I'm going to fold the other part with 1/2 inch. But before I do that, I'm going to place this part at the center of the fabric, and I'm going to give about 1 inch from the lower part, and then I'm going to fold it in. I'll take the bigger material, I'll place it in between this smaller one, and I'm going to fold in with 1/2 inch. After folding in with 1/2 inch at both sides, I'll go ahead to go and top stitch it on the sewing machine. So watch me how I do this. So after folding it in, I'm just going to hold it down with pin so that it's not going to move while I'm top stitching it. And I'm going to create a small pleat or fold on the larger material. So I'm going to continue this till I get to the end, and I'm going to be leaving about 1 inch because I'll use 1/2 inch to fold it inside the dress. So after sewing for both sides of the sleeve, this is what I have on this part. So the next thing I'm going to do is to work on the body of the corset. So I'm going to take the sleeve and I'm going to turn it this way. I'm going to take the right side and I'm going to pin it to the front part of the corset. But before I do that, I'll measure about 1 inch from the joining parts of my cup, and I'm going to place it and I will pin it down. So after pinning it down, I'm also going to take the other sleeve and I'm going to repeat the same thing from that part that I joined my cup from. I'm going to measure about 1 inch from that part, and I'm going to go ahead to place my sleeve and I'm going to pin it down. So after pinning it down, this is what I have. So the next thing we are going to be working on right now is to turn it with the lining. And to turn it with the lining, I'm going to flip it to the front side, and I'm going to take the sleeve and fold it inwards this way. Then I'm going to get the lining and I'm going to place it on it. So that part that I joined the cup, I'm going to make sure it meets, and I'll go ahead to pin it down. So after doing this, I'll also do the same thing on the other parts also. I'm going to make sure that part I joined my cup meets and the other parts that I have joining meets. So I'm just going to go ahead to pin it round. So after pinning it round, this is what I have. I'll go ahead to sew with 1/2 inch round and turn it from that other part. So I've gone ahead to turn it round, and this is what I have. This is what my corset is looking like. So the next thing to do is to fold this into two, and I'm going to notch to get the middle of this dress. So after notching it, I'm going to be joining the lower part to the upper part of this dress, and I'll go ahead to fold it into two, and I'm going to go ahead to notch the center also. After joining it, I'm just going to place it, and I'm going to join that notch part meeting the notch part of the skirt, and I'm going to join with 1/2 inch. After joining with 1/2 inch, this is what I have. Next thing I'm going to do right now is to join the back part and the front part together, and I'll go ahead to pin it together. So after doing that, I marked my shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waist, and my hip line. So I'm just going to mark my shoulder to bust line. So after that, the next thing I'm just going to do is to insert my body circumference at this part. So at the under bust, I'm just going to place my tape, and I'm going to get my under bust circumference. So with what I have 1 inch remaining at both sides, and I'm going to go ahead to place it, and I will insert my measurement, and I'll go ahead to mark. At the waistline, I'm just going to measure it also and extend my measurement. So going down to the lower part, so if you notice, the hip part is lower than where my hip stopped, and what you're going to do right now, you won't actually insert your hip measurement. If your hip is 40, you're going to divide it by 2, that's 20. You'll be inserting 19 inches or 18 inches depending on how tight you want it to be at the waist, because your pattern started above your hip. So after doing this, I went ahead to place the hand and top stitch it at the back. So the next thing we are going to do right now is to add your ruffle to the dress. So I cut out 9.5 inches. I folded the 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do right now is to pleat this fabric around the dress, and I'm going to start from the back part of my dress. So before I do that, I'm just going to leave about 1/2 inch, so that after joining, I'm just going to join it back with that 1/2 inch. So after doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead to pleat it. So you're allowed to create any form of ruffle that you want at this part. So it's left for you to determine how wide or how small you want your ruffle to be. So after doing this, you're just going to go ahead to sew it with 1/2 inch at the sewing machine. So after sewing it, this is what you're going to have. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed, please hit on the subscribe button, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you for watching my channel.